This is the Pixel 3a. It's the latest smartphone from Google, and I think this is one of their best device drops ever. The reason I say that is the 3A and the 3A XL start at $399 and $479 respectively, and what you're getting for that is actually really nice. As we are well aware, that's not a price tag we see too often from top-tier smartphone manufacturers. Apple has their XR, Samsung has their S10e, and now Google has their 3A, which is hundreds of dollars less than the XR and the S10e. Now, due to the fact that high-end flagships are getting so incredibly expensive, we've gotten to the point where, with phones in this price range, we can't really get mad at some of the things that they may have changed, taken away, or included. And that's really what this phone is all about, because of course, in order to get this phone to this price range, stuff had to be adjusted. In a nutshell, I like to think of the 3A as the Pixel 3 stripped of its luxuries and only left with the bare essentials in a much more palatable price tier. So there's no glass back, that also means no wireless charging, and we're left with plastic. Now, the plastic here is not some cheesy plastic that leaves the phone feeling cheap. Lightweight? Yes, but cheap? Not at all. In fact, it feels quite solid, and it's got a very nice feeling matte finish. They did a good job with this, and I was pretty impressed. This unfortunately doesn't get rid of the fact that it's not only super slippery, but also more easily scratched. If you do pick up a 3A, make sure you check out skins from this video sponsor Dbrand to help out, link in the description. Now, in addition to the material downgrade, ruggedness also got a downgrade, so there's no IP rating, and instead of Gorilla Glass on the front, we're looking at Dragon Trail glass, which is slightly less durable than Gorilla Glass 4. It's not a huge difference, but it's a difference nonetheless. Speaking of the front of the phone, the display. It's only 1080p, but that's perfectly fine because it's an excellent 1080p display, and an OLED one at that. This is another thing that really impressed me. As for the rest of the hardware, the phone does have a set of really good sounding stereo speakers, an awesome rear mounted physical fingerprint reader, very good haptics, and a headphone jack. Yeah, Google went back in time and brought it back for the 3A. Thumbs up for that. Now, getting into everyday use, we're talking very familiar territory here. So familiar that the software is pretty much the same exact software you get on other Pixel phones. As far as day-to-day performance goes, in my experience, the 3A and 3A XL work just fine. Another cost cut was the processor, but let's not overlook some of Snapdragon's lower end chipsets because honestly, with the Snapdragon 670 and 4GB of RAM, the phone can handle daily tasks beautifully. It's not a completely flawless experience, and it's not as nice as higher end models, but for me, nothing really stood out that would make me not want to use the phone. It's not a bug-free powerhouse, but it easily gets the job done. Battery life is actually really good too. I can pull 6+ hours of screen on time with the 3A and even more with the 3A XL. These are both phones I don't have to worry about when I'm out for the day. They endure heavy use quite well so far. So what is probably the biggest selling point of the Pixel 3, the camera, is the same camera you get with the Pixel 3a. And that wasn't hard for Google to do anyway, because aside from what the camera module itself brings to the table, the magic, so to speak, comes from Google's software. So all the great shots that you can get with the 3 and 3XL, you can now get with the 3A and 3A XL. The only real differences are no secondary wide-angle lens on the front and no Pixel Visual Core hardware, which means the picture-taking experience will be just a little slower. But if I'm being honest, the difference isn't all that big. Bottom line, you're getting what I believe to be the best cameras for stills and selfies in a smartphone, not only in the sub $500 category, but in a smartphone, period. So who are these phones for? Well, just about anyone really. Of course, people have their preferences, and this phone is missing some things that people love, but what you're getting for the price should be very intriguing and eye-opening. Take my dad for example. He's not in dire need of wireless charging, 8GB of RAM, a QHD Plus display, or an IP rating. But what he does want are good sounding speakers, a nice display, solid hardware, great battery life, a headphone jack, and great cameras. and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there are tons of people out there with the same preferences. Now, I'd be lying to you if I said I didn't wish the phone had some extra stuff, like an extra 64GB of storage in the base model, maybe 2 extra gigabytes of RAM as well. Wireless charging would have been great, and a more modern design would have been very cool. But like I said earlier, because of the phone's price, I guess you can't really wholeheartedly fault it. Ever since Google started making Pixel phones, there's always been a list of things that would turn people away from getting the phone, from the Pixel 1 all the way up to the Pixel 3 XL. However, to me anyway, it looks like Google hit a bit of a home run with the 3A, a budget-friendly device that sticks to the necessary basics, providing a no-nonsense, user-friendly experience that will get software support for 3 years, little to no compromise, and top-tier cameras for the cherry on top. How well will the phone hold up? Well, we'll be sure to check back in with the 3A down the road. As of now, you can't really go wrong with either of these phones. They may not be flashy, drop-dead gorgeous, or super impressive on paper, but they're not supposed to be. As someone who's used the flashiest and priciest of phones, I can definitely get by with a 3A XL as my main phone, especially knowing I got all that extra cash in my pocket. So what do you guys think of the Pixel 3A and the 3A XL? Let us know by dropping your comments down below and we'll talk about it. As always, we love to see your feedback. But anyway, that does it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, feel free to hit that like button, subscribe to the Android Police channel if you are new. I will talk to you guys later, and thank you so much for watching.